Dear students, so in the last class we had discussed the dielectric boundary condition, and today we shall discuss the conductor dielectric boundary condition. Conductor dielectric boundary condition. Okay, so as the name suggests, conductor dielectric means at the boundary, the boundary will be separating, boundary will be the interface separating the two mediums. That is, at one side it will be a conductor and at the other side it will be a dielectric. Okay, so let us consider a boundary. Let us consider a boundary. Okay, and here the first medium is dielectric. So it is dielectric, and the second medium is the conductor. Okay, this is a conductor, and this is the boundary separating the two media. Okay, and permittivity of this dielectric is epsilon, which can be written as epsilon 0, epsilon r. That is absolute into relative permittivity. Okay, and in the conductor we know that if the conductor is perfect, the conductivity is infinite, and electric field inside a conductor is 0. So for the conductor E is 0. Okay, so since it is 0, we will not show any tangential or normal component of electric field in the conductor region. But for the dielectric, as we did last time, we will do same. So since there is no 1 and 2 regions, because electric field only exists in the dielectric, and for the perfect conductor inside it is 0. So we will not consider E1T and E2T, because in the second region, in the conductor region, there is no existence of electric field. Okay, so we will assume that orthogonal resolution of that electric field in the dielectric medium only. That's why it is ET, and the perpendicular component is, this is En. Okay, and the resultant of the two is, this one is your E. This E is what? Electric field in the dielectric region. Okay, okay. Now, as in the previous case, we will assume a closed path such that half of the portion lies in the first region and another half in the second region. Okay, so let us say this is A, B, C and D. Okay, when we move from A to B, B to C, C to D, and then D to A. Okay, del W is the width as we assumed in the dielectric boundary condition, and del H is the height. Okay, so this one del H is the height. Fine. Now, if the conductor is assumed to be perfect, so for perfect conductor, the conductivity is infinite. Okay, what is sigma? Sigma is the conductivity, and for the perfect conductor, conductivity is infinite. Okay, so following the same procedure as used for the dielectric interface, except this E equal to 0 inside the conductor, we will proceed. Okay, so we will proceed as we did in the dielectric boundary condition. So applying the equation, which equation? E dot dl equals to 0 to the closed path A, B, C, D, A. Okay, A, B, C, D, A. To the closed path, we are applying this E dot dl equals to 0. Okay, so the right side is 0, so let us take it as 0, and now we will move from A to B. So if we will move from A to B, is there any electric field component? Because E dot dl we have to calculate, so there is no electric field component in this along AB. Okay, so this is 0 into this del W. Okay, again from B to C in the lower half, it is lying in the conductor region, but in the conductor region there is no component of electric field, so again it is 0 into del H upon 2. E dot dl we have to calculate for each and every path. Now in this BC, in the upper half is lying in dielectric medium, so here it is along this En direction, and the direction is also supporting this. If we proceed from B to C in the dielectric medium, it is along En direction. Okay, and the direction is same, so we will take positive plus En dot del H upon 2. Okay, then we will move from C to D. From C to D, it is along horizontal component, but the direction is opposite, so we will take minus Et, okay, tangential component, and dot del W. When we come across this dA, this upper half of this dA is lying in which region? It is in dielectric region, and it is along En, but the direction is opposite. See, the direction of En is upward, and if we move from D to A, it is in the downward. Okay, so here it is minus of En and dot del H upon 2. Okay, and then when we move from D to A in the lower half in the conductor region, there is no existence of electric field, so it is what? It is 0. It is 0. So this term is 0, this term is 0, this term is 0. Okay, so now if we assume as this del H is very less, okay, this del H is, since we have assumed this closed path along the boundary, and this del H is very less, and we can assume it close to 0. Okay, so in that case, you see this En dot del H by 2, this and this term got cancelled. Okay, and we are left with this only, because remaining terms are multiplied with 0, so they are 0. So we have Et dot del W equals to 0, and so Et equals to 0. So this is the first boundary condition for this conductor dielectric boundary condition. Okay, now for electric flux density, for the same conductor dielectric boundary condition, we will assume a boundary. Okay, and here it is the dielectric with epsilon equals to epsilon 0 epsilon r, and here it is a conductor, and with conductor equals to 0. Now at this interface separating the two media, that is conductor and dielectric, we have to find the boundary condition. Okay, so if we resolve the D component of electric flux density, then the tangential component would be this dt. Okay, and the normal component will be dn, and d will be the resultant of this two components, that is dt and dn. Okay, now we will assume a Gaussian surface. Okay, at the boundary with height del h. Okay, this is a closed Gaussian surface. Okay, and the area is, this area is del S. Okay, now as we did in the dielectric boundary condition, in the similar way we will proceed here also. So there we applied the equation d dot ds equals to charge enclosed. So here also we will do the same. So applying the equation d dot ds equals to charge enclosed to the cylindrical Gaussian surface, to the cylindrical Gaussian surface. Okay, so if we assume this cylindrical Gaussian surface at the interface separating the two media, that is dielectric and conductor, then we apply this equation for this Gaussian surface. Then what we will found? Let's say del q is the charge enclosed by this, then what will be there? Del q is the charge enclosed, and now d dot ds. So obviously for the top and bottom we will consider. So for the top it is, for the top if we talk about, this is along perpendicular to this surface. This d is lying perpendicular to this surface and it is along dn. So this dn dot del s. And for the lower half, obviously it is 0 because there is no electric field, so there is no electric flux density also. Okay, so it is 0 dot del s. So here this dn equals to del q upon del s, and this one is equal to your surface charge density. So we can say that this dn equals to rho s. Okay, so what are the conclusions that can be made for a perfect conductor? Okay, so following conclusions can be made for, yeah, about a perfect conductor. Perfect conductor. So what are the conclusions? First, that no electric field may exist within a conductor. Okay, so first is no electric field exists within a conductor. Okay, that is your rho v equals to 0 and E equals to 0. That is volume charge density is 0 and electric field intensity is also 0. So the second conclusion is since E equals to minus del V. Okay, electric field is 0, so minus del V is also 0. So what does it signify? That there can be no potential difference between any 2 points in the conductor. Okay, so this conclusion is there can be no potential difference between any 2 points in the conductor. That means that conductor is what? That means that conductor is an equipotential body. Equipotential body. So if somebody asks you the example of equipotential body, you can say that conductor is an equipotential body because there can be no potential difference between any two points in the conductor. So these are the assumptions for a perfect conductor, not for every conductor. For the practical conductor it is not possible, but for the perfect conductor these are the assumptions. Okay, this is very important assumption, because in conductor we assume that, in perfect conductor we assume that there is no potential drop if we move across one point to another point on the conductor. Okay. Now the third boundary condition is conductor free space boundary condition. Conductor free space boundary condition. Okay. Now let us suppose that let us assume a boundary. Okay. At one side there is a conductor, and for conductor we assume that equal to 0, and at other side there is a free space. Free space means neither conductor nor a dielectric, it's a free space. So the epsilon equals to what? Epsilon 0, that is absolute permittivity will be there. Okay. Now even if it is a free space, but this E and D will exist. So let's say this is your ET, okay, and this one is your DT. Okay, because D equals to epsilon E, so the vector of E is lesser and vector of D is quite larger. Okay, so in the same way we have this orthogonal component also, that is this one is En and this one is your Dn. Okay, so the resultant of this En and Et will be your what? It will be E, and the resultant of this Dn and Dt will be, this will be your D. Okay, so the boundary condition at the interface between a conductor and free space can be obtained by replacing epsilon r by 1. Okay, because the relative permittivity will be 1 for the free space, because we know that epsilon equals to what? Epsilon 0 epsilon r, but for free space this epsilon r equals to 1. So what will be epsilon? Epsilon will be epsilon 0, that we have assumed here. Okay. Now the electric field E must be external to the conductor and normal to its surface. Okay. So the boundary condition in this case is very simple. Okay. This dt equals to how much? Dt equals to how much? Dt equals to epsilon 0 E. So epsilon 0 Et. Okay. And this one is 0. Okay, because the electric field must be external to the conductor, okay, and normal to its surface, fine. And what is dn? This dn equals to epsilon 0 en, okay, and this is equal to your rho s, fine. So these are the two boundary conditions for this conductor free space boundary. Now let us discuss the capacitance. So you might have studied in the earlier classes capacitance of a capacitor. Okay, so what is capacitance? Capacitance is defined as the ratio of magnitude of the total charge on any one of the two conductors and potential difference between the conductors. So what is C? C is, that is capacitance, is denoted by C, and it is defined as the ratio of magnitude of the total charge on any one of the two conductors. Okay, so you might have studied about the parallel plate capacitor. So there are two parallel plates. So the charge on any of the two plates upon the potential difference between the two plates or two conductors. Okay, so C equals to Q upon V. Okay, where charge in is coulombs and V is in volts. Okay, so this unit is farad. So 1 farad equals to how much? 1 farad equal to 1 coulomb upon 1 volt. Okay, so 1 farad equal to 1 coulomb upon 1 volt. Now as the charge resides only on the surface of the conductor, okay, so from Gauss law, from the Gauss law, this Q equals to how much? Q equals to surface integral of electric flux density d dot ds. Okay, so d dot ds can be what? It can be written as epsilon 0 epsilon r and electric field, that is E and dot ds. Okay, or we can simply write it as what? Epsilon 0 epsilon r can be written as epsilon and E dot ds. Okay, now also we know that V equals to what? Negative 9 line integral of electric field intensity. V equals to minus E dot dl. Okay, so the capacitance can now be expressed as this C equals to Q upon V. So we have this Q, we have this V, so we can simply write this capacitance C can be expressed as C equals to what? Q upon V. So what is Q? This E dot ds upon this E dot dl. We are taking the magnitude only. Okay, and this is the formula we can use. Means in this way we can determine the charge and potential, and we can, it is the ratio of charge and potential. So the capacitance can be determined, and it is in farads.